Get out of the car!
My name is Matthew Cook, and this is How to Be an Officer of the Peace. Public confidence in police is at a 22-year low. For months, brutality and abuse of power have been making the rounds on our national commercial news media, and yet horrific incidents of police abuse are continuing across the country. Sandra Bland threatened,
I will light you up! Get out!
Wow.
ordered out of her car for failure to extinguish cigarette, which I don't think has been a crime since 1836, when the Republic of Texas officially legalized slavery. Sandra, who'd recently expressed excitement about starting her new job, allegedly committed suicide 3 days later while in jail. 70% of Black America has unsurprisingly lost any real confidence in our so-called justice system, and many speculate she was murdered. But even if she did commit suicide, consider that means after being kidnapped by the state and confined for 3 days over a turn signal violation, she lost all hope and preferred to die rather than live another day in the custody of the state. That alone is a crime against humanity. Then there's the case of Devin Guilford, a 17-year-old pulled over for the crime of warning an officer his high beams might be on. The unarmed teenager dared to question this crazy-making traffic stop, and within 4 minutes, this boy, who according to his family had never even been in a fist fight, was shot 7 times, including the head. In both cases, law enforcement authorities deemed the officer's behavior lawful, and so for now, our laws governing use of force make sense to only one race in America, or species, I should say, the crocodile, which attacks anything that moves with no provocation. So the following presentation is for our human brothers and sisters in blue. Please read a book. And I don't mean that insultingly. I want to help, and actually this is one of my favorite books. It's something everybody should read. It will bring you into a state of peace and well-being you need for any job, the job of life. Because right now, it's not about whether you're legally allowed to use force and impose your will over others, it's whether you should. So, officers in blue, let me introduce you to a few of your comrades. This is an officer I happen to know personally. Let's call him Officer D, because I'm not sure he wants any public attention. Here's Officer D literally talking a man off a ledge. Notice what we don't see. We don't see Officer D shooting the man who wants to kill himself because suicide is illegal, or because the man's being belligerent and disrespectful. Next we see Officer D in a standoff with a shooter who's already injured one officer and has taken 2 other citizens hostage. Officer D is going to spend the next 8 hours building trust with an armed maniac who ends up calming down and turning himself in peacefully. Notice again what we didn't see. We did not see a SWAT team storm in, drop a flash grenade into a child's crib, nor were any family pets shot for no apparent reason. What we saw was an officer of the peace. Then there's Elton Simmons, a true miracle worker.
Captain Pat Maxwell was stunned when he started looking through Simmons files. Over the last 25,000 traffic stops, Captain Maxwell couldn't find one complaint.
How did he do it? Many would assume he discovered the secrets of mind control after meditating on the flame of a candle for 20 years, or that he studied the wisdom of the ancients in Tibet as a child. But no, his trick is actually quite simple.
I'm here with you. I'm not up here. Because one thing I hate is to be looked down at. I can't stand it. So I'm not going to look down at you.
That's why, in lieu of a lecture, he gives most people the benefit of the doubt.
So what tools did these masters of peace use to obliterate the enemy of violence, conflict, and disorder? They used patience, respect, and compassion. Things that we can all start to learn by reading a book like The 4 Agreements. And you know what's way more badass than a person pulling a gun on an unarmed person? This cartoon from Nickelodeon.
What are you doing?
I'm mugging you!
With that stance, you are unbalanced and you can be easily knocked over.
Oh!
With a solid stance, you are a much more serious threat. But to tell you the truth, you do not look like the criminal type.
I know. I'm just confused. This is so great. No one has ever believed in me.
While it is always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing.
Which looks like this in real life. A peace officer rescuing a KKK member who's passing out from the heat of the sun and the hatred in his own heart. So for you to be of service, you have to be in a state of peace yourself. And I mean an impenetrable calm that people can feel in a 50-foot radius. That takes work, not just at the gym or the firing range, but at the therapist's office, on the prayer rug 5 times a day, or in the church, wherever you fuel up on your state of peace.
Goddamn asshole! Now just give me the goddamn thing, let me get out of here.
If you don't pick this up, sir, I'm going to summon you for littering.
I'll pick the goddamn... 100... Are you fucking crazy? I wasn't even speeding, you goddamn asshole! $100 and some dollars? Jesus fucking H. Christ!
There's some more right there.
I've never heard of a phone like that in my life, you goddamn asshole! You fucking...
Bye.
If you're that type of human being, you're already a hero. But to maintain that, you're going to need serious backup. And now I'm talking to everybody else. If we're going to entrust any human being to be a keeper of the peace and ask of them a deeper patience, a higher consciousness, and a greater wisdom than the average person, we cannot put them on the front lines of addiction, mental illness, child poverty, domestic turmoil, unemployment, social decay, or into war zones, which are a combination of all of the above, working overtime with zero backup. Addressing this list is the only thing that reduces crime. Not fear, not beheadings, not more prisons, not zero tolerance or shotguns or massive surveillance. None of that. We've done a few things this last year. We got together and with the help of the lawyers at the ACLU, we ended the torture of solitary confinement for teenagers at Rikers Island. It's over. No more solitary. Now it's a baby step, but lives have been saved. After the heartbreaking suicide of Khalif Browder, who spent 3 years without even getting a trial, the people rose up. And starting next year, New York is reducing the number of Americans who have to sit in jails before trial. Another baby step. Now imagine what happens as criminal justice reform becomes a mass movement. Here's the good news. A majority of liberal and conservative Americans no longer believe that our criminal justice system serves the common good. So our time is now. Imagine a cop sees an addict buying an 8-ball of cocaine, and what does he do? He drives the addict to the local rehab and gives the dealer a sign-up sheet for a job training program that's going to give dude a better salary than street dealing, brought to you by the Los Angeles Peace Department. And you better believe, if drugs were decriminalized, the price of an 8-ball would be 35 cents, and that dealer would be grateful as hell. Just don't let Monsanto start marketing it. Imagine a country where to buy a gun, you cannot have a clear history of mental illness. And imagine a day where you can safely have a discussion, even a disagreement with an officer of the peace without fear of attack. Or drive down the street as a black person and not be arrested for being irritated at being arrested. And if you think that that sounds crazy or impossible to accomplish, just remember, we turned the world from this to this in 100 years. So we can do anything. All we have to do is something. I'm dedicating to you that I'm going to do one thing every week to engage in democracy, and I'm inviting you to join me in doing the same. So here's what I did today. I joined an organization. I made a donation of money to help someone start a business. I told my local sheriff's department I want to do ride-alongs to understand better what they're dealing with. I made this video, and I'm listening to the audiobook, The 4 Agreements Again. And the link for a free download to that is in the description of this video. So peace officers, please step up. And the rest of us, we got work to do.